Street is in crisis, and Washington's solution just isn't working. I'm Jim Oberweis, and I've got some thoughts on that. Congress responded to the financial crisis by passing a plan that will bail out Wall Street bankers, by passing the cost of their mistakes onto us to the tune of $700 billion. Take a look at this. This is the bill they passed a few weeks ago. When it was introduced, the plan was a 3-page outline. By the time it had passed 2 weeks later, it had grown to 451 pages, loaded with special interest giveaways. This plan puts taxpayers on the hook for $700 billion, so the Treasury Department can deliberately buy bad assets at above market prices. But that's not all. According to this plan, we're going to punish the good banks to pay for the mistakes of the bad banks. That just makes no sense at all. When it was introduced, I had serious doubts that this plan would work. And I'm not the only one. 200 of the nation's leading economists warned Congress against this bill. Seems our doubts were well placed. After this plan was passed, the Dow fell almost 2,000 points, and Washington began to think of other ways they could spend the $700 billion that they had just appropriated. If that sounds like typical Washington, it should, because it is. This plan never should have passed, but it did. The fact that it passed is proof of what I've been saying throughout this entire campaign. Washington is broken. This plan is a product of everything that is wrong with Washington. The special interest lobbyists, the campaign contributions to favored members of key committees, the rush to action with too little consideration of alternatives or consequences. This bailout plan doesn't represent change. It represents more of the same, and don't let anybody tell you different. No one who voted for this can reasonably claim to be for change. And that includes my opponent, Bill Foster, who spent his entire campaign last spring promising to be an agent of change. Instead, once he got to Washington, he got a seat on the House Financial Services Committee and immediately began taking contributions from the financial services industry. The Wall Street bankers, and big insurance companies, and their lobbyists and political action committees. In fact, once he got to Washington, Bill Foster took more than $50,000 from the financial services industry. And then he voted to bail them out using $700 billion of your tax money. That's just not right. The next Congress is going to have to deal with a very tough economy. The fact of the matter is, we're looking at what could be the most serious recession in a generation or more. And some of our so-called leaders are already making plans. They think we got into this mess because there was too little government action. I disagree strongly. I think we got into this mess because of too much government action. Bad government action. You know, most people who know I'm a small businessman hear my last name and think of our family dairy. But the truth is, I made most of my money by running a different kind of business. For more than 20 years, I ran a successful investment advisory firm. Over the years, my company had tens of thousands of clients, and we protected billions of dollars in assets. I actually know the difference between a credit default swap and a mortgage-backed security. To a lot of people, that experience alone would qualify me as the best representative you could send to Washington to serve in the next Congress. But there's one more thing most of you don't know about me. I know what it's like to deal with a tough economy on a personal level. 20 years ago, after the market crashed in 1987, I lost everything. I had a net worth of 0 and 7 mouths to feed. But with a lot of hard work and a little bit of luck, I was able to rebuild my businesses, the family dairy business and the investment advisory firm. So you see, I've got the professional experience that qualifies me to make good judgments on your behalf as the next Congress wrestles with these important issues. And I've got the personal experience that serves as a constant reminder of how very important it is to help do what we must to avoid any of my neighbors having to go through what I went through. I'm uniquely positioned to serve in the next Congress, and with your help, I will. I'm Jim Oberweis, and I approve this message. Thanks for listening.